the heart of the Mediterranean, there exists a special world where bears and eagles live free among the vestiges of a distant past. It is a veritable treasure trove of biodiversity that, from the Alps to the islands facing Africa, is home to riches of inestimable value. Thousands of species of plants and animals, including the continent's fiercest predators. This is Italy. Here, among the art and the history, a wild heart beats. A female bear nibbles at the grass. Unlike her alpine cousins, the Marsican brown bear is predominantly vegetarian, indeed herbivore. She is an expert on all kinds of wild grasses and has specific tastes. She is one of the last 12 fertile females of this small, threatened population, the only ones capable of having cubs. Today, roaming free in the small region of the Apennines, right in the heart of the Italian peninsula, lives one of the most important populations of brown bears in Europe. But no one can say how much longer they will survive. The Marsicano bear is the most threatened mammal in Italy. The domain of this peaceful creature is shrinking every day, invaded by man. The primary area for bears is the national park of Abruzzo, Lazio and Molise, but they also move out into the nearby parks of Maiella, Velino Sirente and Monti Simbruini, as well as the state forests, which serve as green corridors joining the protected areas. The protected area covers 50,000 hectares, the area of a small Italian region, to which are added 60,000 hectares of external protection. There are no fences, no gates. It is just an hour's drive from Rome, one of the largest and most chaotic cities in Europe. Just 120 kilometers of motorway make the difference between the noise of car horns, houses, people and traffic on the one hand, and silent beech forests, snow-capped mountains and, above all, large mammals on the other. The brown bear, the smallest of the European brown bears, but still a bear weighing 200 kilos. These large animals have survived not only because their environment is still harsh and difficult to access, but mainly because they are cunning, elusive, and often nocturnal. They are wild, free animals and may disappoint those who think that the national park is like a zoo and the animals pose to be admired and photographed. It occurs sometimes, obviously, but it is unusual and far from the norm. In the wild, bears eat just about anything, but they have a clear preference for fruit and grass. But without the presence of shepherds and farmers, food is now much more scarce than it once was in the Apennines. Most of this region has been inhabited for thousands of years, but the balance that regulates the life of man and animal has never been so disrupted until now. Modern times have changed things, and bears who need tranquility and space have been forced to keep their distance from the most populated and noisiest areas by retreating into the least accessible places. They move about mostly by night and try to stay clear of houses. But some have lost their traditional caution and have become more confident, taking an interest in human beings and their tempting products, such as honey, cheese, and chickens. It is necessary to stop bears from coming close to beehives, chicken coops, barns and pens. They risk winding up under a car or stumbling into a trap or even being shot. The bear Gemma, some time ago, came to take some chickens from the hen house in the village of Villalago. And all went well. A little less so for the chickens and the farmer, who found himself with a handful of feathers and a rush to repair the damage, reinforcing his defences with a simple but efficient structure of boards and nails. Tonight the bear wants to try again, but the men of the Forest Corps are ready to foil any incursion by the chicken thief. The forest rangers are alerted thanks to a radio signal emitted by a collar they put on the bear a year ago in order to better follow her movements. The bear is approaching. The dogs pick up her scent. But will a simple firecracker be enough to drive her away? This time all went well for the chickens, the men, and, in the end, for the bear as well, who needs to learn to keep her distance from human habitations. Our bear has gone back into the mountains, disillusioned after her attempt has been blocked by the forest rangers. Shy is proud. Ma, she is shy too. Her visit has only been postponed. Sooner or later she will return in search of something to eat. Every bear is registered, and many are equipped with radio collars. We know not only the age and sex of each Marsican bear, but also its family tree, thanks to DNA samples obtained from excrement or hairs collected by the park's researchers. Gemma, Stella, Reginella, Marina, Bernardo, and before them, Yoga and Sandrino. These are the names that have been given to the trusting bears by the men of Abruzzo in order to show that bears are not just wild animals. They are leading figures in the life of this land, a symbol of the mystery and beauty of nature which has joined man and beast for thousands of years. And yet, between 1971 and 2012, more than 100 bears were killed within the boundaries of the Marsican Mountains. A severe blow to the hopes for the survival of the species. "50 years ago, there were probably more than 100 of them. But today, there are more likely less than half of that." These deaths were caused not only by poachers, but also by mistakes made by hunters during wild boar hunts, and by poisons and traps set for feral dogs, wild boar, foxes and wolves. The buzzards have found something that interests them. They were attracted by the magpies and the carrion crow, which are real explorers, always very curious about everything that is happening in their world. The magpies were the first to spot that there is a carcass in the grass, a cheap meal, but they have to withdraw in the presence of the birds of prey, which are certainly better armed. Three bears died poisoned at the same time. An adult male, a young, and an adult female. It was a terrible loss. Gradually, autumn comes to the mountains of Abruzzo. The maples seem to burst into flame. Speckles of colour sweep across the slopes where the bellow of rutting deer rings out. The migratory birds have already departed. Someone has left their feathers behind. A wood pigeon. Who knows? Maybe it was a fox. One life is ended to allow for another. C'est la vie. The chamois are wearing their winter coats. The males mark the shrubs, leaving an odorous substance produced by glands at the base of the horns on the grass stems and junipers. They raise the mane of hair on their backs to make themselves look more imposing. They compete, but they do not use their horns. They don't even touch them. They run and run at breakneck speed up and down until their hearts are fit to burst. The one who can continue the longest wins. Three bears in a row on the slope, a rare sight. There is a female with a cub of about 2 years old who is still with her, and a male trying to reach the female who is walking rapidly away. He'd like to mate with her. For the moment, she's not in the least interested, but sooner or later, it will happen. The rangers patrol the areas most frequented by bears to offer them a little protection at a time when they are forced to come out into the open. They have to accumulate fat before the winter season that is now rapidly approaching and will force them to undergo long periods of fasting. Early autumn can still bring warm days, and high up there are still some buckthorn bushes laden with sweet fruit. For the bears, it is another chance to fill their stomachs before hibernation. Gemma bear should wake up, but she has been observing radio silence. The signal emitted by her collar has not been picked up by the receiver. It is probably blocked by the mountains. What if she's in trouble? What if she's caught in a trap with her cubs? What has become of her? The area is scoured methodically, inch by inch, flying over the valley of Sagittarius and the mountains surrounding it. It is a rocky, inaccessible area, home to many rare animals. Suddenly, there is a signal. The needle begins to move. Through the deafening sound comes the unmistakable beep that they've been eagerly waiting for. The bear is somewhere down below. The signal comes from a peaceful valley hidden from prying eyes. There she is. With a cub. No, two. Amazing. A truly exceptional mother. She's thin, careful. She doesn't let them out of her sight for a moment. Photographers and enthusiasts line up in a disciplined manner, their telescopes, binoculars and telephoto lenses pointing towards the bottom of the valley. They are intelligent animals and seem to have understood that the danger will not come from those who wait. At Devil's Pass, a location now famous throughout Europe as a hotspot for observing bears. Now winter is approaching. The larches grow yellower by the day, while the chamois descend to lower levels. Soon the bears will go into hibernation in their dens, and for a while, men will forget about them. There is still time for a loving moment between Mum and her now grown-up cubs. They try to suck some milk. The bear sits patiently, but only for a moment. The three go down into the clearing. They reach their favourite resting place and lie down all together, keeping each other warm. It is almost evening. A slight fog has risen, and every now and then it rains. There is something almost human about bears. They love to play and have fun, and even a branch can arouse their interest. Their curiosity enables them to learn everything about the woods and to find the most hidden and obscure sources of food. Soon the young will leave their mother for good and look for somewhere to hibernate among the rocks. She already has her soft, dry den with a bed of moss and dry leaves in an out-of-the-way place. She'll give birth during hibernation. It is March, and a snowstorm has suddenly engulfed the mountains of Abruzzo, taking everyone by surprise. A flock of thrushes struggles to survive, relying on a few berries. A fox goes in search of something to sink its teeth into. These animals are rarely in trouble. They always know how to survive. It was the last snowfall of the season. The intense rays of the sun now begin to divest the trees of their white covering. A goshawk has discovered something interesting. Usually this raptor is a proud bird hunter, but this time it is the carcass of a dead animal that has aroused its interest. There is still something to be nibbled at. A bear has taken advantage of the fine weather to take an exploratory walk and has left tracks in the fresh snow. It is in the heart of the Adamello chain, a mountain range just a short distance from Trento, where the front line of the Great War between Austria and Italy lay. From a historical point of view, this territory is the point of contact between nations that once fought one another. But for those who study fauna, it is an ecological corridor, a large green belt that allows the animals of the Balkans and Eastern Europe to colonize the Western Alps, including bears. These specimens are the avant-garde of the richest bear population in Europe, those of the Balkans and Carpathian Mountains, the great homeland of all European bears, where thousands still live in complete freedom. The snow melting in the mountains swells clear, oxygen-rich streams, home to thousands of mayfly that swarm around in perfect synchronization. They are prey for large graylings and trout, and are also proof of how pristine this region remains. The small lake of Tovel appears through the fir and beech trees. Here lies one of the largest and healthiest populations of Western European bears. Two bear cubs take advantage of the mild early spring weather to explore their forest. They have just emerged from their den, are hungry and are looking for something to eat. They are now old enough to look after themselves. They could come across their mother, in whose territory they continue to live. She may even ignore them, but would not chase them away. They are her cubs, rather grown up now, but still her cubs. A fox and a raccoon dog have also arrived in the clearing. The latter is a funny animal that doesn't look at all like a relative of the wolf and therefore of the fox. as it is a strange hybrid between a raccoon and a wolverine. The raccoon dog is a carnivore. It hunts small prey and eats carrion, but it is not a danger to bear cubs. On the other hand, cubs are afraid of large male bears. A Ural owl calls out from the branches of a beech tree. It is one of the greatest nocturnal predators, a true lord of the forest. Its song sounds sinister, a series of notes in rapid succession. Then it breaks off abruptly. The fox, which was spying on the bear cub's movements, moves away rapidly. Scarface has arrived. He is an old male bear with a muzzle marked by a deep scar, a souvenir from a clash with another male. He is the cub's main enemy. He wants desperately to mate with the female bear, but can't until she stopped looking after her cubs. Eliminating them would speed things up for him. The cubs escape, and Scarface can now woo the female. Free from her maternal duties, she could now conceive more cubs. If the bear is the king of mammals, the capercaillie is the emperor of birds. Although it feeds on insects, worms, blueberries, strawberries and raspberries, if nothing else is available, it will make do with pine needles, which it can digest thanks to the particular bacterial flora that live in its gut. They have discovered that hazel twigs are good, perhaps not as tough as pine needles. These large birds are disappearing from the Alps because their territory is increasingly being invaded by men. Perhaps they won't be able to adapt to the changes in the environment as well as Europe's largest carnivore. The black woodpeckers are taking care of their brood, which is demanding food, approaching the nest dug out of the trunk of a large beech. They are the largest of the European woodpeckers, and their abandoned nests are used by night predators, the Tengmalm owl in particular. The black woodpecker, the Tengmalm owl and the capercaillie are demanding species that disappear when the wood is exploited and the environment affected. Fortunately, men have realised that the wealth of the forest consists not only of its timber, but also of the great variety of organisms that live in the shade of the trees. The lady's slipper is the largest European orchid and needs moisture, as do the spotted salamander and alpine frogs gathering in ponds to lay eggs. A ring ouzel takes a bath in a small puddle. It looks around as it does so, as this puddle is also frequented by other animals, not all of them harmless. It is cold 8 months of the year here, and there is little to eat. A big male moves through the woods. But for now he dedicates himself to his favourite activity, lifting stones and branches to see if there's something tasty underneath. Is storing food, because winter, snow, cold and food shortages are not far away. It has selected a large trunk that it is tearing apart little by little. It is wrapped in mosses and has been eaten away by insects and mushrooms. It is these insects that are the great carnivore's target. It uses its long, powerful claws to break the wood and reveal the tunnels that conceal the larvae and eggs of ants and wood-eating insects. A wood inhabited by bears can be recognized by tree trunks devastated by claws and teeth. A bird is following its actions with interest. A dunnock. Perhaps it could pinch an insect. The humid, foggy air is full of smells, some interesting. There could be a female in the area, but she is unlikely to surrender to his advances in this season on the threshold of autumn. Woodpecker could carry out the same task, but with greater grace. It is a demanding job that requires patience, but the bear is in no hurry. In fact, at one point, having lain down to look for something low down, it decides that it's time for a nap. It continues to keep its paw in almost affectionate contact with the large trunk. This bear has Slovenian origins. He must be the offspring of one of the bears donated to Italy by Slovenia to repopulate the mountains of Trentino, and hence the entire Alpine chain, from where the bear disappeared after centuries of persecution. It survived only in Italy, in this area of the Adamello Brenta Massif in Trentino. But by 1990, the situation had become dramatic here too. There were only 2 specimens left. One, an old female with a limp and perhaps sterile, weighing about 40 kilos, who was coming to the end of her long life. Then there was a large male, weighing 150 kilos, who was blind in one eye. Thanks to infrared cameras, everything was known about them, but it was evident that since they could not breed, the death of these 2 specimens would mean the definitive disappearance of brown bears from the Alps. Thus, on the initiative of the World Wildlife Fund and the administrators of Trento, convinced that it was necessary to save an authentic living monument of the Alps, it was decided to release some bears caught in Slovenia into the Adamello Brenta Natural Park. The Slovenian landscape is made up of a mosaic of vast, unspoilt natural environments where woods alternate with grasslands full of lakes with calm and richly populated waters. Small but ruthless hunting birds live here, like the red-backed shrike that go hunting for insects. They are migrants from Africa and hunt for crickets among the grass. When they find them, many put them to one side, hanging them on the barbed wire. Other birds have made their home in Slovenia, settling on the rooftops. White storks. These large migrants arrive every year from Africa after flying over the Bosphorus, an obligatory point of passage for birds that come and go between Africa and Eastern Europe. Sparrows also live in their large nests, eating their leftover food, but they're careful about going upstairs. You never know with some roommates, especially those with big beaks. Each of the 1,000 bears that live in the wild forests of Slovenia is a small economic asset. In this small Balkan nation, bears attract tourists from around the world who come here to photograph the creatures, but also to hunt them. Every year, a good number of specimens are struck down by hunters, mostly foreigners, who can only shoot at the bears indicated by the game wardens. In this great reserve in Slovenia, 50 kilometres from the border with Italy, where fir trees, pines and beeches form dense woods, humid and full of shrubs and mosses, the ideal habitat for large animals. Between 1999 and 2002, 3 males and 7 females aged 3 to 6 were released. In their country of origin, they were sentenced to be included in the cull, but at the last moment they were saved and tranquilized to be transported to Italy for the International Reintroduction Project. The bears soon began to reproduce. Many litters of cubs were born, and the population today numbers over 70 specimens. The 2 veteran bears, the only truly indigenous to the area, are probably dead. But the new Slovenian bears are once more the stars of this magnificent natural environment that extends into the wooded valleys of the Adamello Mountains. If they were able to cross the swirling waters of the Adige River, they would find a boundless world full of dens, water and food. Some have succeeded, but they are young, impulsive, restless males who have not settled down in the new areas. Only when a female moves across can we be certain that the bear population is expanding to the west. The bear, while being classified as a carnivore, eats a bit of everything: fruit, berries and grass, and if it has the chance, even the flesh of dead animals. And if they are not dead, it will soon take care of that. It can bring down a calf, a donkey, a goat or a sheep with a well-aimed paw. And it loves apples. Not a good thing in an area internationally famous for its apples. It goes crazy for any kind of honey, but the kind produced in the woods and mountain meadows is really good. This is definitely a good area. Which is not so good for people, many of whom would prefer to do without bears in these mountains, where even the memory of Europe's largest carnivore had been lost. bears are not aggressive and are usually afraid of men, but some approach inhabited areas and regularly enter orchards, fields and chicken houses. They are then classified as problem bears, are given a number and a name, and end up on the blacklist. People have decided to make sure they can do no damage, so they capture or kill them. The bear Danidza died accidentally during an attempted capture. Bear KJ2 was shot down. Other specimens end up shut in wildlife areas. They are like the cartoon Yogi Bear, but too real to be left roaming free. It is a difficult life for the largest carnivore in Europe's forests, forced to carve out a living space in a vast and extended environment, but one that is continually invaded by tourists, mushroom and blueberry pickers, farmers and hikers. In these mountains, wild animals have coexisted with humans since ancient times. The shepherds could have probably done without their company, but today wolves, bears, deer, chamois and eagles have become a source of pride in this area of Italy. They have become the true entrepreneurs of the park's green economy because they attract a growing number of visitors from all over the world. This is an area of wilderness still inhabited by free animals who every day and every night struggle to survive in accordance with the laws of nature, laws far more ancient than those written by men.